add on that before we move on?
To add on the Zimbabwean aspect, mixed-use residents are also a big thing. I know Zimbabwe made a lot of tracks when they tried to push forward mixed-use developments where you can do workshop there. So that's also quite big. So housing shortage in Africa at the moment is quite where your man is at.
Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to add that investors are going to go and invest, yes, where there's a return, but also where it's easy to invest. We're really falling short of that in Botswana. Even for a simple tourist to come to Botswana, the process to get a tourist visa is atrocious. There used to be an e-visa portal, now that's not working, right? There used to be visa on arrival, there's not even a communication about that. If we really truly want to be an investable and attractive destination, it's got to be uniform. If people want to come and live here, they want to be able to go to international schools where they have a broad base of international teachers. But if we now go and say, oh, we're not going to issue any more permits for teachers, right? Yes, we do have locally trained teachers. It's important that we employ them as well. However, you've got to find and strike that right balance. Because otherwise, if somebody's going to come here and take a residential visa to live in a country for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years and invest their real money here, and yet they don't have a schooling system that's going to support them, or their spouse can't get a permit to work, that's going to then straight away say, oh, let me move to another African country where the same opportunity exists, but it's easier for my family to go.
So one's really talking sovereign risk, and you've got to have a government that is outward looking and saying, right, how do we promote the growth and how do we do that? Just speaking on that, and Joe, maybe you give some sage words of wisdom in terms of what are the risks that people are facing when they're doing cross-border investment? What are the things that they should be considering?
I suppose the first thing is the security of the land tenure. Aditya pointed out, we have a good system here. That would be the first thing. You've got to have security. You've got to be able to know that you can also repatriate your funds when required without too much leakage along the way. So checking exchange controls. I suppose the most important thing when we're going in as well is the counterparties that we're going in with. We're looking, if we've got big corporates that are supporting the development that we might be doing outside the country, we're largely dealing with the same kind of base of occupiers that we have here in Botswana. We're back dealing with ShopRite and Pick n Pay and all these and all those guys. In the office sector, it's we've got PwC and US State Department, but they might be a bit shaky these days. But there are. It's about that counterparty balance as well. So there's an awful lot of due diligence to do when you go in with local partners and then assessing their track records, what they've delivered in the past. Making sure you're employing local teams as well because they know the market, that de-risks you. But we haven't ventured too far from out. We've gone into neighbouring countries, so they haven't come without their challenges for sure, and there's been school fees to pay in both cases. But those risks, there are political risk would get flagged, but we haven't gone to anywhere. We've assessed that the political risk is not markedly different to Botswana and the markets in which we've entered. We haven't gone anywhere too exotic just yet.
Exchange control, interest rates, I mean, there's a whole measure of things that you think you know in your own country, and then bang, you're investing in the next country and a political change in government or something, and those things change completely.
They can change very quickly. We see property transfer taxes changing very quickly. We've had in Botswana there have been changes in property transfer tax, which is a reason why foreign investors might not come in here in the residential market. There's a non-citizen buying and pay a higher rate of property transfer tax. It's come down, but it's still not at parity. Where we've gone on the commercial side, we're at parity with the local markets, and not at a disadvantage there. The other thing that you also have to check, one of the things we've discovered when we're doing described to you to residents in Zambia is that whilst leases might run for 5 years, the law actually says that a tenant can cancel with 6 months' notice. So you've got to find ways of mitigating those kind of risks, tie back to a guarantee from a parent company in South Africa or the UK or wherever it is.
So I mean, and we talked about it with the IHS earlier, the ability to have a local partnership is clearly a significant element in reducing risk, because those kinds of things on that. As an example, if you dealt with a local partner, do they have to have 50% for them to have the lower transfer duty rate, or if they have 20%, is that good enough to be considered local?
In terms of investments in Botswana?
Yes.
It's not?
No.
They have to have greater than 50. We asked the lawyers here. They have to have more 50, otherwise they're paying the higher transfer duty. So you can do the lower the citizens rate. Okay. Marilyn, what risks are there in investing in Tanzania? What are the concerns?
Well,
that you have?
today we are open for business at the moment. We
No
every investment. But in the real estate sector, mainland especially, is the fact that you cannot own land. So you get a right of occupancy. Land remains under the ownership of the state. So some can come, wants to buy land, you are told no, get into a joint venture with the citizen who owns the land, and you can do up the structure. Limani City, for Turnstar, that's what they did. They went into a partnership with the Institute, RD Institute, where they leased the land from the RD Institute, they developed it, they pay rental on the land, but they don't own the land. And that's across board.
How long are the leases or that land
Well,
occupation?
I know from Limani City it was between 35 and 50 years, but you can, depending, if you're coming through the Tanzanian Investment Center, you can negotiate for a bit more leeway because you're coming through the front door, so to say. But if you then go through a citizen or an entity that's state-owned, then you probably have lesser of a leeway in terms of your negotiations. But your rights are secured. For example, JVs are very popular in Tanzania, more so than you don't have to put upfront costs of the land, because the owners of the land will not ask you to buy the land. They'll rather get a fractional share of what you're developing. It be commercial or residential or a tourism project. So that is actually a cheaper way to kind of enter the Tanzanian market, rather than, unless you're maxed up. Same here. You just come in with your money, and then you come through TIC, and then they will do the process very quickly, very efficiently, but you must have a very good deep pocket.
Right. Okay. Nombasa, are there any negatives of investing in Dubai? Can we think of any? I mean, is there any risk attached there?
Not as far as I know. I mean, opposite to what Marilyn said, in 1998, the government of Dubai actually opened up land to be freehold, you know, when purchasing for people that are not nationals. So when you buy your property, you fully own everything, it is yours. The only negative we hear about is that bubble that we're all still waiting for, which we
Hang on a second. We had a bubble in 2007 and everybody left their cars at the airport with their keys in. Apparently that was the story. Very nice, fancy car. And then we had last year the rain, and then the rain carried the fancy cars away. But other than that,
I mean, that was sorted out in 48 hours. So that just shows you what a difference it makes when, you know,
effective government. Okay.
Exactly.
So the question, let's come back to that bubble. Are we too hot in Dubai? Are we fairly valued? Aditya is nodding his head. I don't think so much. How are we looking at that at a cost per square meter for the end user relative to London, relative to Sydney, relative to New York? I'm not going to compare it even to Cape Town, which is getting expensive, except for the foreigners, and we can talk about that as well. But is it expensive?
I don't think so. Expensive is relative.
Sure, that's what I'm saying. Compared to London and Sydney and New York.
I mean, when you compare it to London, New York, you get national value per square foot. That's what we use.
In Dubai.
In Dubai. I mean, a tiny bachelor in London would be the same price what you get for a two-bedroom in Dubai, for example. So it's you know, it's worth it, it's value for your money. And when it comes to the bubble, now, this past quarter, we actually broke the record where we did sales of about 500 billion, which is the highest, 500 billion AED, times that by 4 to get the bullet rate. So,
is that the end of the cycle? Is the question, you know, you're jumping on it, you're catching the tail, or you're catching the front?
Not close. So we keep breaking records. The more they say the bubble is catching on it, the more you're seeing it, you know.
Let's see by a show of hands who's been to Dubai in the group, just out of interest. So quite a good number. The thing that struck me about Dubai as looking at foreign buyers or investing, etc., is they're developing more. There is a concentrated demand around Dubai. It's not from the other end of the world. It's not from Australia and from America and from the UK. But you've really just got to look at it. I've got friends of mine who are in the UK and their property prices haven't moved for 5, 6, 7 years, if not gone down, whereas Dubai has gone the other way. So you've got a view as to say whether it's going to pop or is going to be a very soft balloon with air. You just put a little brick in and the air slowly comes out until it normalizes, which is what I think it will do, if anything. Okay, I don't know how long we've got, 7